What up, fight world? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Couple disclaimers before I get too deep into this video. Now, some of you guys, I know how you operate. I've been doing this long enough. I know how you guys think. You're going to say, oh, you're attacking Miguel Cotto. You hate Cotto. And it's actually quite the contrary. Longtime supporter of Cotto. However, on my channel, I'm also a supporter of the truth and speaking my thoughts unadulterated, uncut, and raw. And there is no man above that. If I feel my MO is very simple. If I feel you're doing something good, productive for your career, for boxing, I will give you kudos. If I feel what you're doing is a bad look, a bad move, I will say that as well. So when it comes to Cotto, it's actually, I hold him to a higher standard and expect more because he's such a legend. So it has nothing to do with hating. Now, you can check my old videos if you don't believe me, if you think I just have this grudge against Cotto. But they are saying that Cotto is going to be facing, it's very likely he's going to be facing Cornelius K9 Bundrage in June, the week of the Puerto Rican Day Parade, and likely in New York. Now, I think this is a terrible idea, and I'm going to explore that in this video. Now, this video is not a bashing session on K9 Bundrage. In fact, I wouldn't expect him to act any different. I mean, he's an OG in the game. And if he's presented with this opportunity, of course, it's a big fight, big money, big opportunity. I expect him to take it. So it really has nothing to do with K9 and has everything to do with Miguel Cotto. Because, like I said, K9 is doing what K9 should be doing in that situation. You get a call, hey, Miguel Cotto wants to fight you, the A side, a guy who's a champion. That's an opportunity. It's a good payday for you. And a lot of people aren't just speaking on K9 Bundrage's name. So, of course, he's going to take this opportunity. So, again, it has nothing to do with it. Now, the reason I think it's a bad look is because you just entered a new deal with Roc Nation. They're paying you all this money. They said upwards of $50 million for 3 fights, whatever it is, right? And this is the fight you choose. As lineal middleweight champion, you are going to fight a 154-pounder, most likely at a catchweight, we'll say of 155. That is my biggest problem, I would say. I made a video already talking about this because I suspected this would be the case. All the options, besides a few that they were saying, I wasn't good with. They were saying Brandon Rios. They were saying Timothy Bradley. They were saying Amir Khan. They were saying K9 Bundrage. And I told you back then, Cotto in my opinion, he needs to defend or drop those belts. And the longer he holds on to those belts, the worse it's going to look for him. And this is the time for him to look very bad. And I'm going to keep explaining in the video because some of you guys may not know the whole history and why I feel how I feel about this decision. K9 Bundrage is a 154-pounder. He's 41 years old. In terms of a business, and in terms of, everyone knows boxing is a business. In terms of a brand, K9, in my opinion, doesn't have the type of brand and the name in the sport, at least right now, especially right now, that rings bells where people are just like, man, where's K9 been? You know what I'm saying? And that's not a disrespect because there's a lot of guys who are talented or good fighters, but their name's not really circulated. It's not really ringing bells. And by building a brand, it takes time. Like even my YouTube channel. When I first started, I was getting like 30 views. It'd be like 72 hours or 2 days or whatever, and I could barely crack 100 views. So you have to build your brand. You have to get people familiar with your work and that kind of thing. And for K9 Bundrage, he's 41 years old. He fought Carlos Molina, who looked exceptionally shitty, but I mean, he did his thing. And that was an ESPN fight. Now being thrown with the lineal middleweight champion, a big time like A-lister like Cotto, I think this is bad business. I don't like it. It's not a good look. If Miguel Cotto were to face a 154-pounder, I think better options would be Demetrius Andrade. Reason being, Demetrius Andrade, to me, is more fundamentally, technically sound, and he's younger, and he's also a champion at 154, just like K9 Bundrage, but he's not 41 years old. He's pretty slick. He's a southpaw, and that could be an interesting scrap. He has a good height advantage. And I think Demetrius Andrade, especially with all his wild call-outs, because he's been calling out people and, man, the Charlos is bums. All these dudes, the Canelo's a bum. Like, he talks a lot. So I think even him, his brand is bigger. Another person that I think would be suitable if you're not going to fight a middleweight is LARA. Reason being, LARA has a decorated resume. Whether he won or lost, I thought he beat Paul Williams. They didn't give him the win, but he has that on his resume. He's fought guys like Carlos Molina, Canelo, Vanes Matarosen. He's fought Alfredo Angulo, got a TKO victory in that fight. And Ishe Smith recently looked good in that performance. Another southpaw, Cuban style. He has a great left hand, and he's very fundamentally sound. When I look at Canine Bundrage in his style, he's aggressive. He's a strong dude, but he's kind of wild. You know what I mean? He's like a blizzard, just real wild. He's not really accurate. So again, knowing the type of boxer that Miguel Cotto is, stylistically, I would much rather see him in against a slick southpaw like DEMETRIUS ANDRADE, like LARA, who probably have height advantages over him and could give him a good fight and or beat him. He could win. I mean, those are, to me, more intriguing fights than Canine Bundrage, who is strong, but he's real wild and like herky-jerky and stuff like that. It's not that interesting of a fight. And then you look at the business side, like I said, I think all those other dudes I just listed have a bigger name. Another 54-pounder that I think would be a good look would be Cotto and Canelo. And this fight has actually been discussed and talked about on 2 occasions. And by discussed, I mean they were in negotiations. The first time, Cotto got offered, I want to say 10 or 11 million. Research it if you don't know what I'm talking about. He went to the Golden Boy offices. They offered him about 10 or 11 million to make the fight with their fighter, Canelo, and he walked. He's like, thanks for the offer, but no thanks. And he chose to go up to middleweight to face the lineal middleweight champion at the time, Sergio Martinez. And he absolutely annihilated him, ran through him. I actually picked Martinez to win. I thought he was too big. I like Cotto, but I just thought Martinez was too big. He was a southpaw. I thought it would be too much for him. He proved everybody wrong that went against him, right? So after that, you're going to come back to fight a 154-pounder named Canine Bundrage. You see why this doesn't make sense? And yet again, opportunity came to face Canelo, and he didn't get back to Oscar De La Hoya and Team Canelo in a reasonable amount of time. Therefore, they walked, and they decided to face Kirkland because they must go on with their career. You can't blame them. They said they had given him a month or 2 months or whatever it had been, and he was waiting, thinking he was going to get maybe a Mayweather shot or whatever, and he stalled him out. So they said, fuck it, we'll face Kirkland. So that's another reason it looks bad. Now, you talk about lineal middleweight champion. Now we'll talk about the middleweight division. There are some great fights at middleweight. A lot of those guys are tied up. GENNADY Golovkin is probably the most feared middleweight right now. You know what I mean? He is. I don't think it might be. He is. You know what I mean? He's fighting Willie Monroe Jr. now. However, Tom Loeffler of K2 Promotions, I talked to him, and he says a lot of guys say they want to fight Triple G. I'll try to put the link in the description. He said a lot of guys say they're down to fight him, and then when it comes time to negotiate in the business, they're just like, not right now. That's his words exactly. Before the Willie Monroe Triple G fight was made, there was an opportunity. K2 had reached out to Team Cotto and got no response to make a Triple G versus Cotto fight. A fight that I would love to see because it's a lineal middleweight champion. I don't want to hear, oh, Miguel Cotto, he's too small for Triple G. Then he needs to vacate the belt because the belts that he has says otherwise. It says he's the lineal middleweight champion of the world. So you put that bullseye on your back by doing that and holding on to those belts. Now, if you just wanted to do it for a one-timer, like Roy Jones moved up to heavyweight and didn't really stay up there, that's cool. But you can't just hold on to the belts and hold them hostage, like I've been saying, and not expect to get challenged by middleweights. Of course, Miguel Cotto is an A-lister. He's a big name in the sport. Everybody wants that opportunity to fight you. So if you want to stay at middleweight, then you got to stay at middleweight. I can't condone the lineal middleweight champion fighting at a catchweight. It just really totally goes against everything that Cotto has done to this point in his career. He's had a great resume, and I'm not a type of person where I'll take one isolated instance and then bash him and say his whole resume is trash. That's not the case. He has a great resume. Shane Mosley, he's been in there with Mayweather, Pacquiao, Margarito twice, Clottey in Clottey's prime. So he still has a great resume despite this. But this is not a good look. Now it looks to me like your passion is not even in boxing anymore. You're just trying to collect a check. And the thing that's crazy is the double standards. And some people are going to vouch for this and act like this is a great fight when it's really not. When it came time to Mayweather and Pacquiao, I couldn't hear the end of those two dudes. People who are pro Pacquiao were saying Mayweather's a coward, he's ducking. And people who are pro Mayweather, they were saying that Pacquiao, he's the reason the fight didn't happen because of Top Rank, and he re-signed, and he's with Arum, and then the drug test. So it was a mixed bag. A lot of people blame Floyd, but there are a lot of people that blame Top Rank and Pacquiao's side as well. However, it doesn't matter because that fight is actually signed and it's happening. Kirkland, Canelo. A lot of people didn't like the Clottey fight. Allegedly, Canelo got hurt. So he's fighting that. And if Kirkland shows up, that could be an interesting fight. So to me, this whole thing isn't adding up. In the midst of all of this, Cotto is choosing Canine Bundrage. Likely. It's likely that he's choosing them. So we're getting Mayweather, Pacquiao, Canelo, Kirkland. Fights that could be good fights. And you're fighting Canine Bundrage. And that adds up to you. And then on top of that, people had the audacity and the nerve to talk shit about Triple G's opponent and his selection in Willie Monroe. Now, some of you guys have never even seen Willie Monroe Jr. He's a southpaw. He's black Cuban. He has one loss, and that was a split decision loss. He doesn't have much pop, doesn't have much power, but he's a good, fundamentally sound, like, technical boxer. And people complained, and I read comments, tons of comments, like Triple G's cherry picking and stuff like that. How can you even fix your lips to say that and then be content with what Miguel Cotto is doing? Like, just answer that question for me. That's all I want to know. Like, some of the people, like, I want to see Triple G fight an elite name. There's no doubt about it. But at the very least, Triple G is fighting numerous times per year. He's winning in an impressive fashion. If you put him in there with the guy that nobody knows, like Adama, he gets him out of there. He's not going the distance with him and shit like that. So you can't really fault Triple G. He's called out people. He called out Martinez when Martinez had belts. He called out Cotto. He called out Quillen. Quillen vacated. And again, people have the audacity to call Triple G a cherry picker. And some of you guys are going to try to make excuses for Cotto. To me, I think this is a terrible decision, especially for your first fight with Rock Nation Sports for Miguel Cotto, especially considering the fact that your whole resume consists of a man willing to take risks and fight the best out there and good names in the sport. I just don't see what Canine Bundrage is doing for Cotto's stock. When you fought the top of the mountain, you fought the Pacquiaos, you fought a cheating Margarito most likely, you fought Mayweather, you fought Shane Mosley, you fought Zab Judah, you fought all of these guys, DeMarcus Corley. When you have names on your resume like that, who wants to see you backtrack and fight Canine Bundrage? A guy who doesn't really make business sense, not really a big brand, style-wise doesn't seem like thrilling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure a lot of casual fans probably would rather see Amir Khan versus Miguel Cotto. So I just can't condone it, man. Like, I told you before, Cotto should defend or drop. Straight up. Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Do you like this fight, Canine Bundrage and Miguel Cotto? Do you hate it? If so, why? Why not? Drop me a comment. Let me know what you guys think. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off.